happy for Bijan. Well-deserved, as we all agree. Mina Kimes, Marcus Spears, Adam Schefter with us for the hour. Lots to get to. Swag's got that. Oh, is that paper? Is that bread? What is that? What do you make of the deal?
Well, you know what time it is. When it's time to get paid, it's time for me to talk about getting that bag. This is the knee 3-yard run by Bijan Robinson, and you can see the money fall. The bag is on the balloon, and he gonna burst that balloon. But I saved something special for y'all. Look who waiting on him. Thank you. That's Jahmyr Gibbs, who's probably gonna get paid next. That's what I'm talking about, running backs. They tried to put you out, but they can't.
Yeah, I love it. The Falcons, by the way, have now given big extensions to 4 of their key starters on offense, including Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Matthew Bergeron. Let's keep the money coming down. We'll see if it'll land on some of us. All right, Adam, how did this deal come together?
Listen, they've been talking, and there have been a stint of Bijan Robinson not practicing in the early part of camp, and there being essentially a hold-in. But the sides continued to talk, and Bijan wanted to get back on the football field. And when they put together a deal that maxed out at $75 million, essentially it's a $22.25 million base salary per year on the 3 years of the extension, Bijan knew that it was time to take the deal and to get back to practice. The deal does make him the highest paid running back in NFL history. It does give him $51 million in guaranteed money. The Falcons went about as far as they were going to go on the deal. They were able to bridge their differences here over the course of the past 12 or so hours that resulted in him signing and setting the table, as Marcus mentioned, for a potential Jahmyr Gibbs deal in Detroit and a potential Jonathan Taylor deal in Indianapolis.
All right, so we'll look out for those. I was at Falcons camp recently, and it was killing Bijan to sit out. He's got to be so excited, not only for the deal, but to get back on the field with the team. Now, he's not the only player signing a new deal today. What's going on in Baltimore, Schefter?
Zay Flowers gets a new deal done with the Baltimore Ravens, a 4-year, $140 million extension, averaging $35 million a year, $108 million in guaranteed money. And the interesting part here is that Zay Flowers had been out at practice, but Baltimore and Zay Flowers have been going back and forth. And again, it gets to the certain point where the deal averages $35 million per year. Zay Flowers is one of the highest paid wide receivers in the game. At a certain point, you just sign the deal and you get it done. And that's what Zay Flowers did today. I'm sure there are other receivers across the league that took notice. Maybe Puka Nacua in Los Angeles. Maybe George Pickens in Dallas. But the wide receiver salaries are rising. Running back salaries are rising. There's more revenue across the league. And obviously, some of it is filtering down to the players, the great players at certain positions.
Yeah, those receivers you mentioned, they're like, hey, if I have a great year, big payday coming my way, as we would expect. Now, more on Flowers in a couple. Let's turn our attention back to Bijan's deal here for a minute. Robinson, now the highest paid running back in NFL history on a per-year basis, breaking Saquon Barkley's record. Robinson's $51 million in guaranteed money is second most all-time for a running back, only behind Cardinals rookie Jeremiah Love. Andrew Hawkins is with us today down in Atlanta. Good day there at the at the Falcons camp. I'm thinking about the Hawks. Hawk, what's the reaction been to Bijan's new deal out there?
Everyone's all smiles. They're super excited for him. Talked to Kyle Pitts, talked to Drake London. They were both excited that he finally got his payday after they got theirs this offseason as well as Bergeron early on. When he came out to practice, he dapped up every single offensive lineman. Now, I don't know if that's standard, if he does that every practice, but him being out here, he was excited to get a little bit of action. And every offensive lineman, again, they dapped up, they embraced, gave him congratulations. So I think that bodes well for the chemistry that will happen in the run game with Bijan Robinson under contract.
I like this. Hawk is a reporter. This is good stuff. You can do it all, Hawk. We appreciate you for being out there today. Let's talk a little bit more about what you can do. Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, they're all locked in long-term down in Atlanta. So the question is, who will be under center in that offense? New on NFL Live, Hawk caught up with Tua Tagovailoa last hour. Take a listen.
I view it as a competition. I understand he can't take some team reps right now. Because of what he's going through. But outside of that, he's still being able to compete in 7-on-7. He's still able to go through some plays and whatnot in that sense. So competition is competition, regardless of where you go around this league. Everyone's good. Everyone's getting paid, regardless of what side of the ball you're on. And that's what it is.
All right, so Hawk, you're out there. You've gotten to see and kind of get the vibe around Atlanta's camp today. How should the Falcons handle the quarterback situation?
I mean, they got to let it be an open competition, but, you know, the big thing down here is that this really highly anticipated competition hasn't even taken off yet, right? With Michael Penix being restricted, you have Tua Tagovailoa managing flare-ups. A lot of the backups took most of the reps today, which is to be expected. When we did see them in the individual drills and early on in practice, they both look great. They're approaching the competition from a healthy point of view, as you heard from Tua, but the reality is them being healthy is more important than anything. And I think right now Tua has the upper hand just by virtue of how he looked in the offseason. He'll get the majority of the reps when his flare-up is kind of more manageable. But, yeah, they're going to need both of these quarterbacks to be healthy in order to get a really, really clear view of who should be their guy, Laura. And I do like being a reporter here. So,
yeah.
Andrew Hawkins live from Falcons camp, ESPN.
Yes, thank you. He does not know. Well, Hawk knows how much that means to me. You at home may not realize, but I appreciate you, Hawk. We're going to clip that off and save it forever. This is one of the more murky quarterback competitions. Fascinating to see how it all shakes out. Now, some more breaking news coming in from Atlanta. This from our Falcons reporter, Mark Raimondi. Jalen Carter was carted off, no air cast, his face in his palm as he left the field. Now, Walker, third on the team with 5.5 sacks last season as a rookie. Adam, it's no doubt how important he is to this defense. What more can you tell us about the extent of Walker's injury?
The early indications are that it is a torn ACL, Laura, which would be devastating news for Jalen Walker, for the Atlanta Falcons to lose a player that good this early. NFL Network has reported that the initial indications are that it is a torn ACL. There'll be additional testing that Jalen Walker has to go through, but that's not the news that anybody wants to hear, particularly on a day in Atlanta where they get the deal done with Bijan Robinson. They get him back on the practice field, and now you lose one of your best young players on the defensive side of the football to what looks like a torn ACL.
Oh, man. I mean, you just hate to hear it for all the reasons, right? Jalen Walker, Mina, and this Falcons defense that really has some holes to fill in big spots. Now maybe a massive hole to fill. If this is a long-term injury, Mina, just how big a loss is this for Atlanta?
This is massive, not just because Jalen Walker showed, I think, flashes of being an exciting young player last year, was going to, take a leap this year, needed to, but because they really needed him to generate a pass rush due to some of the players that they've lost and potential suspension for their rookie pass rusher last year, James Pierce Jr., who led the team in sacks. He potentially has a suspension related to a domestic violence arrest. Other players left. David Onyemata, the defensive tackle, was quite good for them, gone. Caden Ellis, excellent blitzing linebacker, gone, back to New Orleans. And suddenly you look at a team that last year took this huge leap, going from 30th in adjusted sack rate to second. Finally, after Falcons fans had been begging for years, let's get after the quarterback. And now, who's getting after the quarterback? It's all very much in flux, Marcus.
Yeah, Mina, you hit the point. I remember us being on the show talking about the Falcons needing to address the pass rush with a four-man rush without having to bring extra pressure. This team went 4-0 in the last 4 games of the season, beat the Rams at home. We were there for Monday night, and it was phenomenal. I mean, beat the Rams on the road. It was phenomenal to see this young team starting to kind of find their way, and now you deal with an injury to Jalen Walker. The unfortunate part about this for him is I had him as a sleeper to explode this year. If you look at his ability to pass rush, what he was doing off the edge, he was winning one-on-ones. That's what you want to see from young players getting those matchups in the league. It's just super unfortunate. He dealt with some injuries last year during training camp. In 4 games, he had 4 of those sacks that ended up being 5.5 on the season. So you could start to see the explosiveness. This is very, very unfortunate. There's a mixed bag now going on with the Atlanta Falcons. So many good things happening from an offensive standpoint, obviously trying to figure out this quarterback situation, but getting Bijan paid, understanding who they brought in. Kyle Pitts talked about the goals of this team. Stefanski being a new head coach as well. This is just very, very unfortunate for a Falcons team, especially in a division that I still feel like was up for grabs coming into this season. But to you lose a young budding pass rusher like this is devastating at this point for the Falcons trying to assert themselves in that NFC South.
Adam, you have more to add on this too?
Yeah, listen, I think when you look, well, what's interesting now is the NFC South has been rocked by injuries through the early part of training camp. We have the Falcons losing Jalen Walker, potentially to a torn ACL that he'll undergo more testing. The Saints lost their starting defensive tackle, Brian Brzee, to a torn ACL. The Carolina Panthers lost their young pass rusher, Nick Scouton, in the first hour of drills on the first day of camp. And so we've seen 3 NFC South teams all lose significant defensive players to potentially season-ending injuries, not the way you want to start training camp.
Yeah, it's a good reminder of something to Adam's point that we hate to see, right? Let's get back to the other big contract handed out today in Baltimore. Zay Flowers now tied with Justin Jefferson as the 4th highest paid receiver in the NFL. 2 of the 3 players ahead of Flowers also signed extensions this offseason in Jackson Smith-Njigba and Drake London. Last season, Flowers fell in yards per route run. Our Jeremy Fowler in Baltimore today. Jeremy, what's the reaction been to the Flowers news?
Laura, Baltimore Ravens players and coaches wore the Zay Flowers contract like a badge of honor out here in the practice field after they found out. They believe he is absolutely worth the payday. Head coach Jesse Minter called Flowers a pillar of the organization for both his leadership and his playmaking. Perhaps most importantly, he is in lockstep with his quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Those two have serious chemistry on and off the field, Minter said. And now it's up to Baltimore to get Flowers the ball. He had 118 targets last year. For the Ravens to make another Super Bowl run, they need Flowers to have at least that. Because as safety Jalen Hawkins put it, Flowers is that rare player who can take it 99 yards.
Yeah, that's on new OC Declan Doyle for sure. And Marcus, Lamar has sung the praises of Flowers for so long. But what do you make of the Flowers deal?
I'm happy that the Ravens have decided and figured out who their number 1 wide receiver is. Think about how many conversations, Boogie and MK, we've had about guys coming in. It's seemingly been a revolving door at wide receiver with them trying to figure out who that would be. They drafted Bateman a few years ago, thought he would turn into that, but kudos to Zay Flowers, man. And everybody knows how dynamic he is with the football in his hands. He is a short game to take it 99. He can get deep. He has made explosive plays, and that's what this offense had been missing, quite frankly, on the outside. So for them to reward him with this contract, but also based on his production and obviously the boost from Lamar Jackson saying that that's my guy.
Yeah. I think that this contract makes sense. I know folks see him next to like Justin Jefferson and there's a reaction. He's not as good as Justin Jefferson. Well, first of all, the wide receiver contract market is going to get reset fast. Puka Nacua is up. He's going to blow this out of the water. And this will look reasonable soon. It always happens. But then as far, Marcus, you made a good point about the production. The Ravens, it feels like they've constantly been looking for a boundary receiver to pair with Flowers. But since Flowers has been drafted, so the last 3 years, he ranks 5th league-wide amongst all receivers in target share. He is the focal point of this Ravens offense. That's a big part of why they're paying him. And I'd also say this, in 2026, I know we think of a number 1 wide receiver as being that big-bodied X receiver, but with the way offense has evolved, play callers have gotten so good at finding ways to make guys like Flowers the focal point of the offense, using motion to get him free releases and space to operate in. And he's so shifty, so fast, the yards after the catch are there. So I do think while he is not your stereotypical number 1, he is Baltimore's number 1, and it makes sense that they paid him as such.
Yeah, I saw him this offseason, and he was really excited for just like a fresh start with this offense and what he felt like he and Lamar could do together. It feels like now getting paid, he's got even more to prove. We got more breaking news on the contract front, okay? Coming out of Chicago. Adam, what more can you tell us?
All right, the Bears have reached agreement with their right tackle, Darnell Wright, on a 4-year, $116 million contract, including $93 million guaranteed for Jeremy Fowler and Ian Rappaport. That is thought to be the highest guarantee given to an offensive lineman. The Bears lock in Darnell Wright in the latest big money extension that just got done a short time ago, Laura.
You guys, between Wright, Flowers, and Robinson, $252 million in guaranteed money has been handed out today. Big day in the NFL, and there's going to be a lot more for our camp report and all things Bengals. Ben Baby covers the team and joins us now. Ben, how are the Bengals feeling about their new D tackle, Dexter Lawrence?
Laura, the addition of Dexter Lawrence was the biggest one for the Bengals this offseason, and so far in training camp, he's had a big impact. After the first day of training camp, quarterback Joe Burrow talked about how difficult it was to be in that pocket with Lawrence causing a ton of pressure up the middle. And so far, as the Bengals have gotten into the padded portion of things, that has remained consistent. Earlier today, we talked to Bengals defensive coordinator Al Golden, and he said that Lawrence has been everything the Bengals thought he would be. Golden praised how well Lawrence came into training camp, and when I asked Lawrence about that, he said, listen, I did what I always do as I get ready for an upcoming season, and I also spoke to Bengals defensive tackle B.J. Hill, who was teammates with Lawrence back when they were in New York, and now Hill says he sees a grown man Dex in not only the way he prepares, but in everything that goes about the way he attacks the game. The Bengals feel like this defensive line can be a big position of strength, and with Lawrence wrecking the interior, they feel like that can be something they can lean on as they get into the rest of the season.
I mean, no doubt about grown man, right? Marcus, how much does Lawrence's presence change things for that defense?
Well, it's amazing what they did, Boogie. Look, I was hard on the Cincinnati Bengals for how they handled the Trey Hendrickson situation, but to add what they've added and the focal point obviously being Dexter Lawrence, I thought they did a phenomenal job of impacting this side of this football team. He's going to be a stalwart. We know how good he was from his days in the New York Giants. But like my man Mike Tannenbaum likes to say, he's a force multiplier. He's going to allow other guys to get those one-on-ones. If you don't double team Dexter Lawrence a large majority of the time when you're in passing situations, he's going to impact the pocket and put your quarterback under duress. And that's what Cincinnati wants to do. And this team had a huge issue with stopping the run last year. And they decided we're going to go get a big dog that can impact the backfield when teams are trying to hand the football off too. So he's more of a guy that's just going to press the pocket. He's going to make everyone else around him better. And this team just has to be middle of the pack on defense. Not to mention they could be very good in order to have a chance to play for a Super Bowl with what that offense has shown us year in and year out. It all hinges on Joe Burrow's health. But they fixed a lot of what was wrong defensively with bringing in Dexter Lawrence and a couple other guys.
I'm smelling a B&B coming our way on a Monday. Now, he's been on there before, but as a Bengal B&B.
You better preach.
We hadn't had that many of those.
Preach,
That's
girl.
about to change. Okay, let's get Adam Schefter back in here for an injury update from around some camps. Lots going on. Adam, some wide receivers pretty banged up at the moment. Let's get things started with Xavier Worthy in Kansas City.
Well, he aggravated a sprained shoulder there, Laura. It's not expected to be serious. He could be back later this week, according to Andy Reid, but he went out of practice on Saturday with that shoulder injury. He's had shoulder injuries in the past, but this time the Chiefs don't sound overly concerned, and they think he should be back in relatively short order. Meanwhile, the same is true for the 49ers veteran wide receiver Mike Evans, who's dealing with a minor quad strain that's not thought to be serious. The 49ers are being careful with him by holding him out. He could return at some point here relatively soon, not expected to be any significant absence, but still, it's just another injury for the 49ers in what seems to be a lot of them this summer. None any more significant than Ricky Pearsall, who is going to undergo surgery next week on his PCL injury that he had examined by doctors. It's going to be season-ending surgery. The 49ers already have put him on season-ending injury reserve, so he's out for the year and trying to get back for the 2027 season, which doesn't help the 49ers now and leaves them with a significant hole at one starting wide receiver position. I don't know if there's another player in their roster that has Pearsall's skill set that can replace what they're losing now, but it's early in camp, and this is what the 49ers now have to deal with.
Yeah, you hate to see it for Ricky Pearsall. It's just been unfortunate with some of these injuries. This year felt like a big breakout opportunity for him. They did get Deebo Samuel back there, so that'll be interesting to see what happens in this offense with him. All right, and how about A.J. Brown in New England? The newest Patriot told NFL Network that he dislocated his thumb during Monday's practice, although he did note that he didn't miss any time. So I don't know, you'd think his coach is like, wow, what a tough guy. New on NFL Live, Browns coach Mike Vrabel didn't have a ton of sympathy for his new wideout.
How's he doing? I think he's going to be okay. I think he's going to be okay. Now, I tell him the linemen do that every other snap, and you know it's not a national story when a lineman pops his finger back in place.
Ah, the sly smile. Okay, A.J. Brown coming off his 4th straight 1,000-yard season, but his numbers took a step back last year. He averaged career lows in yards per reception, yards per route run, and yards per target in his final year in Philadelphia. After finishing 2nd in yards per target in 2024, he slipped to 16th in the league last season. So, Amina, what needs to happen for Brown in this offense to put up big numbers this fall?
Yeah, well, I think the revamping of the wide receiver group, so not just Brown, but the addition of Romeo Doubs, which I think is one of the most slept-on additions of any team, is not only going to keep this passing attack operating at a high level like it did last year, I think it's going to open up opportunities on the ground. As good as the Patriots' offense last season was, they were not balanced. Very good throwing the ball, below average running, and I think that really hurt them in the postseason. There's a litany of reasons for that. Offensive line, a big part of it. I do think Trevion Henderson is explosive, but has to stay on the field as a pass protector. But I would also argue a big part of it was defenses not fearing, perhaps insufficiently, the pass game. The Patriots didn't face many light boxes. Now that you've got A.J. Brown and Doubs on the field, you're going to see a lot more split safety coverage. So I think there's going to be opportunities on the ground for those backs. Throw Reggie Gilliam, one of my favorites, into the mix, lead blocking, and I think this run game could improve greatly over what we saw last season.
Yeah, I love it. I am a fan of the Mina Kimes show featuring Lenny. Mina's a little higher on the Patriots than a lot of people are, especially on the offensive side. You would know that if you listen to her show, and if you don't, you're missing out, so you should. Coming up next, you want to hear this sound from All right, you might have missed Jerry Jones being asked if he was thinking about keeping the curtains on the windows that were used during the World Cup, so here it is.
Well, do you know something? Thinking about it and doing something about it are two different things.
For you, if you think about it, you could do something.
But I think about it. It's hard to tell that time of the year because the sun's not the same this time of the year that it is in the fall. And that as you get on into sun changes and the angle of that sun changes from September through the year round. But as we look at it, I like some of the effects of the tinting. And so we're giving that a thought.
Marcus, how does that sound to you? Look at that glare. Oh, my goodness.
It sounds good. It sounds good. Please do it, Jerry, because, look, I'm with it. If it's affecting the other team and the Dallas Cowboys don't have to deal with it, then I'm with it. But we've seen too many times where this has impacted the potential of making plays, as you can see here with the CeeDee Lamb play, and he has a visor on as well. That sun comes through that stadium at a high clip. And I get it, Jerry's like, it doesn't happen every single time we play. But if it's going to cost a touchdown or maybe a catch, an important catch during a critical time of a game, then let's do something about it and tint that thing and still let a little bit of sun come in, but not enough that our receivers can't see the football. Come on, Jerry, make it happen.
Hey, look what Jerry ordered for you. Your own set of curtains. Oh, Swagoo. Oh, wait, let's see him again. Let's peek back down. There he is. Okay, I think we should bring that back. To Vegas next, where Clint Kubiak made it clear he's happy with his current roster. Here's what he said.
I think we just have a professional group of players. You know, they care about getting better. You know, we don't have any turds. We got guys that want to be here, that want to win, that want to change this place. And so I'm really happy with that.
Did he say turds? Yes, he did. Mina, you agree?
That's so Dan Orlovsky coded the way he said that.
Who?
I don't know. Honestly, like there's players but not speaking about them as humans. I'm sure they're lovely humans, but talking about the actual roster and what it'll look like on the field, there's some questions. Obviously, the tight end group is stacked, led by Brock Bowers. You sign Tyler Linderbaum, you get Colton Miller back. That's great. Right side of the offensive line, still a question mark for me. They're running it back there, and then the wide receiver group is thin and untested and young, and candidly, I wish they had added a veteran. This is a team that's going to live in 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, but still very unsure about this wide receiver group that Kirk Cousins / Fernando Mendoza will be throwing to.
Interesting. We'll see him preseason, by the way, here on ESPN against the Texans. Defensive coordinators don't typically make headlines with their press conference, so you may have missed Lions defensive coordinator Kelvin Shepherd's reaction when asked about the team taking a step back with Terrion Arnold gone now. Here's what he said.
Listen, I'm not going to say it was a setback, so to say, because to me, honestly, that's disrespectful to the guys that's still in this locker room. What I'll say is Terrion Arnold had #1 cornerback potential, but it was still untapped. You know what I mean? And I'll kind of leave that at that.
Marcus, that's an LSU guy. What do you make of what Shepard's trying to say there and convey about this Lions team?
I agree with him. I mean, Terrion didn't have the greatest season last year, but you could see flashes of his potential. And I agree 100% with Kelvin Shepherd that this very unfortunate situation that he finds himself in of not being able to continue to expand and become the player he needs to be. Look, I know we talk about training camp, and it's kind of like this is a time where guys get better. This is a time you build confidence going into the season, and they won't have that. This team is a bunch of young budding stars, that guys that you expect that's been drafted by Brad Holmes and this crew to come in and continuously get better. You see that this organization has rewarded these guys as we wait on Jahmyr Gibbs' contract. But you think about the Aiden Hutchinson, you think about the Panay Sewell, and then Terrion Arnold, if he would have continued to expand this game, may have been next in line to be one of those guys. It's just unfortunate that he's not going to be able to continue to mature, continue to develop in the trying to find this number one corner. And this defense is still building. They were riddled with injuries, as we saw a few years back in the playoffs when we thought they had a chance. It's just an unfortunate situation that they find themselves in. But Kelvin Shepherd is not going to make excuses. I know him. He's going to put his best foot forward and expect those guys to perform at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, Kelvin last year at times was just grasping at straws trying to field a defense at all with some of the injuries they were dealing with. Adam, in terms of that Lions secondary along those lines, all eyes now on the health of Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. What can you tell us?
Well, we know about the questions at the cornerback position, but there might be bigger questions at the safety position. Brian Branch is coming off a torn Achilles that he suffered in December. Kirby Joseph missed the last 11 games last year due to chronic knee injury that was bothering him throughout the season. Neither player looks like he's going to be ready for week one. Certainly Branch looks like there's very little chance he'll be ready for the opener. He could miss the start of the season. They're hoping he's back in October. As for Joseph, they're not ready to give up on him for the start of the season. But again, missed 11 games last year, and there are major questions surrounding both safeties who are great players when they're out on the field, but both now have medical question marks.
It's such an important point Adam makes about them being great players, right? This isn't just depth we're talking about. Kirby Joseph at his best was an interception machine. Brian Branch at his best is one of the best hybrid nickel safeties in the NFL. So not having him week one is brutal. And you look at the secondary, and I just see youth, question marks, unproven. I mean, DJ Reed, not coming off of his best year. Ennis Rakestraw had injuries early in his career. Keith Abney II is a rookie. And I look at this and I do wonder, we were talking about Kelvin Shepherd earlier, if he's going to feel comfortable blitzing as much and playing as much man coverage as he has in Detroit, because candidly, he don't have the horses to do it right now. Right. So it's a real challenge for a very talented, bright, young defensive coordinator, because while they've got talent up front in that front seven, on the backside, they are up against it.
Yeah, it's a great point. That's a big part of his identity, and he just may not have the people to do it. The Lions, by the way, have not ranked in the top half of the list. Micah Parsons giving an update on his recovery progress.
I think people are worried about, if I come back. I just feel like people should just be worried about, how I'm going to be when I come back. That's kind of like my mentality, and how I feel and how I'm going to approach when I'm back is like, people are worried about the knee. They should be worried about how I'm going to play when I get back. The anger, the frustration, the things that I'm going to have to let out because, how long it's been since I played.
Mina, when he's back, it sounds like he's going to be ready to prove something. What does that bring to that Packers D?
Everything. They need Micah Parsons, maybe more so than any team needs any pass rusher in the NFL right now. In large part because he's Micah Parsons. He's one of the three best pass rushers in football, but also because of the lack of depth around him, which I thought was really exposed after he got hurt. Just nothing in terms of the four-man rush. Now Rashawn Gary's now. Maybe you'd get some more out of Lucas Van Ness. But their new defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon, wants to win by rushing with four. Without Micah Parsons, it's candidly hard for me to see them doing that consistently.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Gannon focus back solely on defense, too. Adam Schefter back with us now. And, Shefty, take us through the top stories, starting with a new deal today for Bijan Robinson.
Well, that was the big headline that started the day today, Laura. The Atlanta Falcons give Bijan Robinson a 3-year extension worth up to $75 million that now makes him the highest paid running back in NFL history, and it sets the table and benchmarks for the Lions to potentially do a deal for Jahmyr Gibbs and the Colts to do one for Jonathan Taylor. But not all the news in Atlanta good. Their young standout edge rusher, Jalen Walker, was carted off the field today with what is thought to be a torn ACL. He'll undergo additional testing to confirm the injury, but that is the early word, which is a terrible setback for him and this team. You hate to see injuries this early in camp. Meanwhile, the Baltimore Ravens gave Zay Flowers a 4-year, $140 million extension that includes $108 million in guaranteed money. The two sides have been talking about a new deal for the past few weeks. They get that done today with Flowers signing that deal that makes him one of the highest paid wide receivers in the league. Surely that deal will get some attention across the league, as will the deal that the Bears just gave out to their offensive tackle, Darnell Wright, a 4-year, $116 million extension that includes $93 million in guaranteed money that locks up Darnell Wright. The Bears have put a lot of money into their offensive line. This becomes the latest example, but they did lose a key defensive player who they spent a lot of money on this offseason. Kobe Bryant went down yesterday in practice with a hyperextended knee. He is now expected to miss 8 to 10 weeks, which leaves the Bears thin at the safety position. They thought he would come in and upgrade that spot. Now it looks like they'll be without him for the start of the season. That's a blow to the Bears defense. Let's see if they can overcome it.
Yeah, Adam, to your point, he was expected to really be a centerpiece to that Bears revamped secondary. They also drafted Oregon safety Dylan Thieneman in the first round after losing multiple starters in free agency. Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon returned to lead the Bears cornerback room, though Gordon currently on the PUP list with a lingering calf injury. So, when you think about all that and just what we expected to see out of Bryant, just how big a deal is this injury?
It's a really big deal. Large part because the secondary, in my mind, supposed to be the strength of this Bears defense. They have a very good cornerback group. I like Dylan Thieneman, the kid they drafted out of Oregon this year. I like him a lot better when he gets to play next to a veteran safety like Kobe Bryant, who was really good in Seattle. But the pass rush, they didn't really add to it. I think a lot of folks were surprised by that for whatever reason. Free agents, the prices wasn't right, the draft didn't shake out, and it was quite lacking last season. So this is a team, Marcus, that was going to have to lean really heavily on that secondary to buy them time for pressure to get home. Now you take out what I think was a pretty key player, and yeah, this isn't a pass rush, I think, that's going to compensate for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. MK, you're absolutely right. One of those units have to be really good for the other one to thrive. And the beauty is when you get both of them working together. Take the place that Kobe Bryant came from in Seattle. You had front, middle, and back, all playing at a very high level, led to a Super Bowl. But, you look at this Bears team who thrived off turnovers last year. We saw some games where defensively they had a lot of issues come to the forefront. He was a really good safety for this team because he is a box tackler as well, an open field tackler as well. As he continued to grow his game on the back end with taking the football away, Mike McDonald did a phenomenal job finding spots for all of those guys in Seattle. They expected him, like we said off the top, to be a big part. Now you're going to have to figure out how to create this pressure. Dennis Allen did a phenomenal job last year in the playoffs just trying to compensate, find ways to get this defense to make plays. They will not be in good graces by losing players of this caliber, but hopefully they can find their way to step up until he returns, and hopefully he can give them that boost that they want in the secondary.
Hey, you mentioned those league-high 33 takeaways. They also, though, allowed the fourth most yards per play in the NFL. You got to think some of those takeaways may not happen. That was a big number from takeaways standpoint based on the way the defense is functioning in general. Okay, new on NFL Live. How about this? Jeffrey Simmons threw a punch at today's practice, spent the day working on the side after he did that with a strength coach. Marcus, the big fella's out there getting a little feisty, and then he's like, all right, I think I'm going to go to the side here and cool off a little bit. You okay with some of this activity at camp?
I'm fine with it. Sometimes it's a way to rest your legs, too. Listen, mission accomplished, Jason. Look, the thing is, like, I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret. When we was in the league, sometimes when those dog days of camp set in, and I know they not there yet because it's early in camp, but you would go out and say, hey man, we're gonna start a fight today. And hopefully coach either cuts this period out of practice or he like everybody up. So I hate that I had to let this out. I hope no coaches take this and run with it. But sometimes you got to throw a damn punch to go get some rest on the sideline, man.
Who was the cowboy?
Secrets.
Right. Who was the cowboy that was doing that when you were playing, Swag? Who was out there throwing punches
it
trying to
was
get a
all
break?
of us. But we had a guy named Jay Ratliff that would lead the charge. And anytime he had that plan, everybody else was ready to rock too.
Okay, so the next time I'm just not feeling it on this show, which never happens, I'm going to punch one of y'all, and then we'll say, all right, that's it. We're done.
Just steal off on somebody, Boogie.
It's going to be Dan. Still to come, John Harbaugh has all...
Standing up here in front of the New York Giants. It's the New York Giants in this room. The New York Giants.
There's a lot of things that stand out as to why he's been so successful. His intensity, his love for the game, his leadership.
He's what we needed. There's definitely been a sense of accountability off the rip. Everybody's accountable. Everybody has to show effort at practice.
Every day he comes out here and he cares about it. We all want to win the Super Bowl. We all want to win that championship. So he wants that for us.
If you love football, you're going to want to be here.
Fun times for the Giants right now, right? Over the last 3 years, the Giants 13-38 and have not played a single game with a winning record. The only other team to never have a winning record in that span is Tennessee. Since winning Super Bowl 46, the Giants have won just one 10-win season, tied with the Jets for the fewest in the NFL in that span. So hope springs eternal, though, right? Marcus, we heard the players talking about Harbaugh there. Can a coach really change things that quickly?
Yes, they can. And I think the stability that this team has been looking for since Tom Coughlin is there. And John Harbaugh is a really, really good football coach. I was there. I had a cup of coffee with the Baltimore Ravens. I have a ton of respect for what he does at setting a culture and being a head coach before Ozzie Newsome cut my sorry ass and it was time for me to go. But I really enjoyed my time with him. I think he's going to do a lot for these young players. He's a former Super Bowl champion. He always is around the playoffs and going deep into the playoffs. And these young guys kind of need someone that can stand up in front of the room that gives you that belief that they know the way. And if you listen and you pay attention and you try to execute at the level in which John is going to expect them to, they will have a chance to be there in this division and have a chance to win football games. You got to get Jackson Dart to stop trying to bang his head against a brick wall. I know that's going to be difficult because that's the way he plays football. But ultimately, this team should benefit in a major way from having John Harbaugh, and that's why he was such a hot commodity when he was let go from the Baltimore Ravens by a bunch of organizations.
I mean, a lot of buzz about the Giants' offense with their young playmakers. Good to see Malik Neighbors has been back out there. Seems like he's healthier. It feels like we've heard less, though, about this defense in New York. What do you make of that unit?
I think they should be improved, even with the loss of Dexter Lawrence, and that is a massive loss, literally a massive loss. But they did a few things I loved, one of which was to shore up the linebacker position, which is something, by the way, John Harbaugh knows the importance of, having good linebacker play coming from Baltimore. It was such a weakness for them last year, and a big part of why they were abysmal in run defense. The Giants have really, really talented pass rushers, but they're not big. Brian Burns, Abdul Carter. They need to be protected by linebackers. And now you go get Tremaine Edmonds, huge. Arvo Reese, very good tackler. I think that should help shore up the run defense, which was really like the failing of that defense last year. The pass rush was great. Problem was, can't rush the passer if you can't stop the run. So I do think that they're going to be much better at stopping the run this year, and that'll create opportunities for that pass rush, Marcus.
And MK, as you talk about that defense, you look at that linebacker core. The one thing Harbaugh has been known for, too, wanting with his defense is speed. And all of those linebackers can run. They can get sideline to sideline. How fast they diagnose, how fast they get to the football is going to be paramount. But when you start talking about athletes that can move around in space, that can find the football, and how they will probably swarm because that's the culture that he's setting, this defense should be markedly improved. Now, they have some offenses that they're going to have to deal with. They're going to have to deal with Dak and George Pickens and obviously CeeDee Lamb and Saquon Barkley. We'll see what this new offense is in Philadelphia and if Jaden Daniels is healthy as well. So you better have something you bring into the party on that side of the football with dealing with these quarterbacks and offenses that you're going to have to face.
Yeah, last year, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, the only pair of teammates to both rank in the top 10 in total pressures. But to y'all's points, I think Abdul Carter may have a breakout year, too. We've seen that talent on display, and there's a lot more I think he can give. Time for one more thing before we go, you guys. Today, we head to Arizona for